actually felt like when I was walking up from the table like I was winning an award, but I didn't win an award. So let me start over there. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Right on, okay. My name is Roger Ragusa. On behalf of the Community Action Skagit County, I'd like to welcome everybody to the breakfast this morning. This is the first annual Spirit of Hope breakfast. A wonderful crowd, if I may say, this morning from various parts of the community, different industries and so on. A number of faces I know, and some of you I don't, but a wonderful crowd and a great support. Thank you for being here. Let us thank those corporate sponsors that are here this morning, Moss Adams and U.S. Bank, and our spirit sponsors, Fisher & Sons, Opus Community Foundation, and Puget Sound. For them, let's give them a round of applause. As many of you have been to charitable events like this over the years, of course, we always take time to mention those elected officials that are here. I'm going to have those people remain seated, but certainly recognize them this morning. Sharon Dillon, Ron Wiesen, Ken Dahlstead, Jeannie Youngquist, and our mayors, Jill Boudreau and Dean Maxwell. For them, let's give a round of applause. Thank you. This next group I was going to have remain seated as well, but because they're so pertinent and important to the function of this particular entity, if you're here and you are certainly part of this group, I would ask you to stand. So would the Community Action Board members please stand? If you're on the board, please rise at this moment, please. How about a hand for these folks? Thank you. I've got a couple of quotes here that I want to share with you this morning very quickly. One by Winston Churchill. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. The other one is from Plato. Good actions give strength to ourselves and inspire good actions in others. And as I say that, of course, the other people who we have to thank to make this possible is all the volunteers, donors, staff, and all those people who make up the Community Action Agency. The heart and soul of the entity, if you will. I moved up here 20 years ago, active Rotarian, volunteer at many charitable events such as this, and I was asked maybe to bring a little personal interest into my comments that I can share with you this morning. And several years ago, my architect friend Harold Page asked me to consider helping out for the Family Development Center. So he asked me to help do a landscape design, on-site consultation, plant selection, and so on. And I did that. He asked me to do it, and it was the first time that I got involved, and I enjoyed it very much. And you know, when I look at it, and if you're familiar with it, just about when I tell somebody who doesn't know where that house is, I say, well, it's the house across the street from the chuck wagon. Oh yeah. So now you know where it is. It's the house across the street from the chuck wagon. You know, I look at that and it helps out a lot of individuals. You know, single parents, families, single, disabled, a myriad of folks. And I really like that, and I became a part of that, and it felt good, and it's nice. And I think that's the reason why that, you know, I share that with you, because you've probably had an experience like that as well, if not with this agency, others, okay? Their promise statement, the heart of the community action is creating a spirit of hope by helping people help themselves and each other. I like that. So when I looked at this house, it reflects and sets an example of that, and shows that kind of work and what they do every day to all sorts of people who need that help. You know, this doesn't just happen, by the way. It's like anything else in our lives. It has to be managed. You know, there's a degree at which all the various talents and coordination abilities of people, all sorts of themes are set by leadership and so on. And The agency itself has to be run at least by one individual to sort of take charge, and that guy is my friend and fellow Rotarian Bill Hinkle. Bill, who's going to come up and say a few words, is the executive director for Community Action Agency. So I give you now Mr. Bill Hinkle. Thank you.
Roger did great. Nobody believed that Roger was going to stay on time, and he did a wonderful job. And he deserves an award. So I've got a quote too. You pick up those quotes and you gotta like them. Mine's from Wendell Berry, who's a writer, philosopher, and best of all, a farmer. He said, "Leaders are those who see what needs to be done and do it." I thought that was really straightforward. You all are leaders. You see what needs to be done and you do it. And he also tells us as leaders that we don't have the right to ask whether it can be done. We just have to do it. So like farming, the work that we're engaged in takes a lot of determination and patience. But we're going to do it. He also tells us what the young requires of the old is hope. What the young requires of the old is hope. Not just stubborn sweat of a farmer, but hope. So thank you for showing up to our first annual. It's kind of amazing to look out. I don't want to do it. It's kind of freaking me out. There's so many people. But it's amazing to look out and see this support when, as Bill Schuler, my predecessor, knows, I'm kind of along for the ride often. And so the team said, "We want to do this thing." And I said, "Okay." And I was imagining maybe 19 or 20 people showing up. And Karen Parnell, the lovely Karen Parnell, said, "Bill, this is going to be a success. You stop that." And voila. So thank you. Thank you for the hope you bring and the leadership you bring. It's an oft-told tale, at least for our staff and our board, that back in 2009, I had the fortune, a foundation sent me down to the University of Washington with a group of 30 EDs. I'm sure they knew that I needed a lot of schooling to learn for a week. And there was a University of Washington economist back then who flipped out this picture of the federal deficit. And it looked sort of like Jaws to me. It was like going like this over time. And he was basically saying, those jaws are going to eat you guys up if you don't do something about it. So, being fortunate, Bill and Jerry Kaufman and lots of other people had put together this incredible organization. I was lucky, we were lucky, Skagit County was lucky, and nevertheless the question, what are you going to do about it in the face of the jaws? And that was before sequestration, that was before government shutdowns, that was before we really got deep into that recession and there were more and more people falling into poverty. And really the answer is in this room. That is the only answer to that question. On a lighter note, when the government was shut down, I had told our staff and our board that maybe we needed not only a breakfast but a lunch and a dinner and a couple of weeks. So as Roger said, we've grown fond of saying the heart of community action is creating a spirit of hope by helping people help themselves and each other. Helping people help themselves, as our marvelous Liz will show us, is all the work, the services we do. Helping people help each other is working with all of you, our volunteers, our donors, our partner organizations, to really do some solving of this thing called poverty and drive us all to a better thing to talk about, which is prosperity for everybody. We've been known as Skagit County's best kept secret for a long time. And it is indeed challenging to explain the work we do. Sigrid Schumacher, who with John Hanstead was kind of the schemer of this event, when we were trying to share, how do you talk about community action? She said, her quote was, well, when people ask me what they do, I say, what don't they do? And that was very nice, but unfortunately it's not true. There's a lot that we don't do. Of course, there's a lot we do in stabilizing lives and touching the lives of 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 Skagit County residents. We do a lot, but we can't do it all. We know we can't fix every problem alone. We can't stabilize lives and equip people to move out of poverty by ourselves. It will take the community working on that. We've come to see the most pressing issues are those that take a group of us to solve, not just individual organizations, not just individuals. Those are the problems we have to work on. And as leaders in our own right, we see the terrible impacts of poverty on children, on elderly, on people falling into poverty. We see how close all of us are to falling into that state, especially now. We also see that people are people. We have terrible stereotypes about the rich, about the poor, about the other. But when we spend a little time with each other, those stereotypes fall away and people are just people. There's good and bad in everybody. And we see to escape poverty requires extraordinary resilience and almost always a touch from someone else. Can't do it alone, especially for people who are born in poverty. To end poverty, we need to act with a more common cause, voice, and vision. We welcome the investment beyond our borders that comes in, and we're proud of that, but we need to work together. And our friend Jerry LaFollette is here. I have to pull out an example. I know I'm supposed to keep it moving, but I have to say that as the government shut down, the insanity of that conversation was happening at the federal level. Here locally, there was a Republican state representative, Kirk Pearson, and a Democratic representative, Chris Litton, was meeting with Jerry and folks at Skagit Valley College, folks from the Department of Corrections, Charlie Wynn from Skagit County Jails, Community Action, and a fellow who'd come out of prison. And we were working on the problem of how do we keep people from coming out of prison and going back into prison. A horrible thing that happens. About 20, 30 years ago, is about 30% of people came out and went back in. Today it's about 70%, 7 out of 10 people. And that's a terrible cost on individuals and their victims, on the community, as we pay $25,000 to $35,000, $1,000 per year per person. But we see if you get those people into college, that can go, if you get them up to a bachelor's, that can go down to 2%. So a group of us have been working on this issue for years with glue and duct tape. Not a lot of money, but the state folks came in and they heard about what we were doing. When we shared with them, they said, you guys are a pilot, put together a proposal, we want to bring it back to Olympia. And that conversation was helping people help each other. That was a sane conversation. That was a local conversation that was attracting outside attention. And that's what we're up to. We want to be a center of solutions in Skagit County. And to do that, we need to work together to solve things. So thank you again for coming together, for providing hope that we can work together and we can make a huge difference. It's not pie in the sky, we can do it. So we've got, first of all, in helping people help themselves and each other, everybody has a part. Each of you has a part, I have a part, we all do. But today we wanted to honor 4 pretty remarkable people who exemplify that whole spirit of helping people help each other.